for the sake of timing, try to jump to wind. We think wind is going to grow more than geothermal, and it's going to mean a lot more in terms of gigawatt installed in 2020. As you can see, we project about 380 gigawatt installed and a 10% compound annual growth rate every year. It's the presence of wind energy is more sort of democratic. There's more wind everywhere. United States is also, as you can see, very blessed. The red means higher wind speed, so potential to do more wind than other places. But as you can see, Africa and Europe and Asia also have a strong potential for wind. The key point in all of these technology, and I take the wind example here, is the cost, of course, of the technology itself, which is been going down significantly for wind. For example, since 1981, there's been a period of time where it went up again because of the tension between demand and offer in the wind industry. But basically, over a long period of time, over the long term, the cost of this technology is going down. And so the grid parity point, which was mentioned before, is already being reached by wind in some areas of the United States, and it will be reached from a residential standpoint by solar in some of the states and countries in the near term, and wholesale for solar will take probably a bit more time. Again, the approach for us is to treat this business as any other business that we do. For wind, for example, we've put together a framework of approach which is fairly standard. We go through phases of development, permitting, construction, and O&M. Our goal is to reach excellence in all of these steps to make, of course, wind, as any other renewable energy source, cost the least amount of money. Solar, just to finish up with probably the most promising of all these technologies, just because the amount of solar irradiation that our planet received is huge and theoretically could satisfy all our energy needs, is also the technology that from a cost standpoint is going down much faster than the others. And so we really think that this is going to be an opportunity from a business standpoint, but also a real opportunity to satisfy a large percentage of our energy needs. The growth rates of the solar business are just impressive, and quite frankly, I think that these numbers probably underestimate the further technological advances that we could see in the next years. Also in this area, Enel Green Power has chosen a slightly different approach. While with other technologies, we don't usually go into the manufacturing in solar. We have made an investment, a joint venture with Sharp, to build a solar factory, and we also have, for example, retail, where we entered in Italy into the retail business. We have a franchise network of people, of franchisee that install panels. So we are both into the industrial scale, if you want the large-scale solar, and the small-scale solar. Trying to sum up with, again, for us, renewable energy is business like any other. It's a business which has become already a reality. We're beyond the point where this is sort of a new thing. This is happening. We're doing it. It's cost competitive in some of the countries. Will become cost competitive. So our goal is to make it happen over the next time. So we think of the business, and in every country we try to look at these 6 things which make the renewable energy business sustainable in that specific market. And of course, you can look at this also on every technology. So things change a little bit on each of the technologies. But so we look at the potential of the market just based on the pure resource availability. And for example, the United States stands out for the huge resource availability in every of the sources, solar, wind, and so on. We also go and look at the issues of acceptance and permitting. There's, some European countries is very tough to develop, as it is in some of the United States areas in the Northeast in particular. Of course, we make our capital budget decisions also based on how easy it is to permit and how easy people accept projects. Of course, there is the whole discussion about the technology cost curve and how we can facilitate the process of decrease the cost of the technology, both on the capital side and on the operation side. And there is the fundamental key issue of the regulatory framework, where we basically have come to the conclusion that it's not really a question of which type of regulatory framework each state chooses. So if it's basically a question of how stable the regulatory framework is. So we have noticed that when a regulatory framework, like in some of the European countries, is stable, that allows to have a significant development of renewable energy. In this country, for example, we have had a regulatory framework which has been changing a lot, and actually it was always the same, but every year it was renewed. So it was kind of, so that does not allow a stable development of the renewable energy technologies. Of course, every regulatory framework has to be meaningful. If you have, it's like the feed-in tariff, right? It's the greatest regulatory framework if you have a high enough tariff. Otherwise, it just doesn't work. So, of course, every framework has to be meaningful, but stability is the key issue. Stability of the credit markets, of course, is fundamental. We have experienced in the past months some issues with credit markets, which I think are going to be resolved, and transmission, because I have the view that although distributed renewable energy is a good thing, and of course has to be done to the maximum extent, but it not necessarily would solve all of the energy demand. So you will need to do some old-fashioned centralized renewable energy power plants, and to do that you will need to develop transmission. Again, transmission is we have to look at transmission with new eyes. We need to develop grids which are sort of this century and not of the past century. Enel, for example, is a company which has been moving into smart grid technology quite significantly in the past. We're one of the few, I think we're probably the only country to have a digital meter in every house. We have installed about 32 million digital meters in Italy over the past years. So all of these things make renewable energy a certainty, quite frankly. So we are we came to the conclusion this is not a fad, as I was saying. Renewable energy is to stay for the long run, is here to stay for the long run. Technology progress will continue to happen. In particular, a lot of people will realize, like us, that this is just like every other business. So you need to optimize all of the steps of this business, to optimize all of the supply chain to make it more cost competitive. The acceptance issue, quite frankly, we think that is probably most likely going to improve. Yes, we do have the issue, we're facing the evidence that this is a sort of distributed and low intensity type of energy, so you need a lot of surface to develop power plants, but people are starting to get it. And also some of the things that were thought to be very negative about windmills, for example, like the impact on bats and birds, at the end of the day turn out to be not so significant. So acceptance is probably on the path to improve. We think that there needs to be some balance between market-based incentives and some sort of integrated approach. Again, we are of the view that for each market, there's going to be, for each area, for each region, for each county, there's going to be one technology that makes more sense of the other. That's why you need to keep all of your options open. I already spoke about the stability of the regulatory framework. In terms of risk, again, we think that most of this business still requires some policy support and stability in the policy support. Again, I cannot stress it too much, but this is very key. And the credit market concerns, which is probably easing up at this point in most of the countries, should no longer be, or could be much less of a risk for our business. So with this, I conclude my presentation, and looking forward for the questions.
Thank you very much.